Dynamite download.
Welcome to Dynamite Download.
Dynamite Nation, welcome back to Dynamite Download. Thank you guys so much for coming along with us for the ride tonight. As always, we're going to deep dive into the elites and the deletes of AEW Dynamite. This week's episode was jam-packed, and each week keeps just getting better and better. I cannot wait to dive in tonight. As always, thank you guys so much for interacting with us on social media. It really is awesome to be a part of such an amazing fan base. We try to keep it real positive here at Dynamite Download. It's our thing. We love the show, and we just love spreading that positivity. There's plenty of negativity in the world, right, guys? So follow us on Twitter at AEW Dynamite DL or on Instagram at Dynamite Download. Make sure you check us out on there. We're going to always be interacting with you, whether it's SPD, Crayfish, or our newest writer, Bonds. We're all on there. We're really loving the interaction with you guys. So keep it up. Share our content. Make sure if you find anything that you agree with, make sure you jump in there and comment. We appreciate that. So I think in order to celebrate today's episode in style, I think all of us need to wake up tomorrow with a hangover. Here's to the Inner Circle tonight. Here's to MJF. Here's to Wardlow. Here's to the whole new crew. Elvis, thank you very much for such an entertaining night, guys. All right. Now that we got the most important part of the show out of the way, SPD, why don't you throw up those match results so we can deep dive into really what we have in store tonight?
Yeah, look at this card, though. I mean, just right off the bat, this promo, this page, this old ticket, old school feel. This was awesome, man. I love the way they are doing their marketing and everything. But now I'll get back to the results of that. What do you think about that?
Well, I mean, that was circulating on social media. We were just talking social media. That was circulating. A lot of fans and wrestlers alike seem to really like that. It also kind of follows a trend of AEW embracing the past. If anybody watched AEW Dark this week, they got to see the waiting room with Britt Baker, and that certainly kind of had an old school Piper's Pit feel to it in some ways. So really love that. SPD, thanks for throwing those official AEW Dynamite results up for us. We appreciate that. The Young Bucks started off the show tonight against Top Flight in a really fast-paced, high-flying, exciting matchup, a real great opener to get us moving. And then Orange Cassidy ended up defeating Kip Sabian. That one had a lot of outside interference after the match. That was certainly entertaining, and we're going to talk more about that later on. I called that. I definitely thought Miro was getting involved. I was really excited about that going into the match, seeing what he was going to do. My man, Pac, he defeated the Blade in one was an incredibly physical matchup. Those two guys, just two physical specimens, beat the hell out of each other. Real high impact offense. If anybody didn't miss that one, definitely recommend you go back and check that out. Those two guys tore into each other. And speaking of two people who just went at it the whole match, Thunder Rosa and Serena Deeb. What a women's matchup tonight. And really, it was a great show for the women's division. I think that we're going to have a lot to talk about coming off the heels of tonight. SPD, I think that you might have had a little bit of a premonition. A lot of your predictions have been coming true, brother. So
I know we'll dive deep into that over that, but
yourself there.
I'm very proud of what I saw tonight.
Yeah, we ended the night with a main event that was, weeks in the making. Team Taz has had a long-standing beef with Darby Allin. And if anybody's been on social media interacting and following these guys, you know that Taz has had a beef with Cody. And we're going to start off our show tonight with that main event. I was just blown away. Before the show started, SPD, I was like, dude, I can't believe this is happening. I was so excited. I think a lot of people were caught off guard about that turn where Will Hobbs joined Team Taz. that was something that I've been calling for from the get-go. And SPD, you've been an advocate that Hobbs should stay as a face. He's got that natural babyface story, real underdog. But I had been pushing all along, man. Hobbs is the type of dude, he's got to go out there and grab the bull by the horns. You got two other guys in Team Taz that are no nonsense, that are seizing the spotlight, that are really focused on making an impact and don't really care who they offend along the way. I think Will Hobbs is a perfect fit in that group. What was your takeaway? Obviously, the match itself has a lot that we can talk about. But, man, before we even get into the match, what was your takeaway on the way that show ended?
I was in awe. I honestly, my jaw dropped. I was, you were all for Will Hobbs joining Team Taz, and I was really pushing for him to stay the babyface because, I liked his story, and we all liked his story and everything. But now that this actually has happened, I am all for it.
I mean,
Team
you look
Taz,
at that image, dude.
oof.
I know he's got that underdog story, but you look at that image. That is one scary looking dude. I don't want to get in a fight with that guy, right?
Team Taz was already strong without him. Now, like we mentioned last week and the week before, with him, Team Taz is even more of a wrecking crew. Who better than Team Taz? That needs to be their new slogan, because honestly, I can't see anybody stopping them with adding Will Hobbs. You
hear it every time that Brian Cage comes out to the ring. Who can stop the path of Cage? Who can stop the path of Team Taz right now? Those are they're four angry guys now, yes, including their leader, Taz. Those are four angry guys who have no problem rubbing your face and shit and reminding you that they're the top dogs. They are that. I am not for me, I would not want to be on the other side of the ring between those guys. That is a group of guys who are focused and who bring the pain. And what I love about that group, and this is what we've been talking about for weeks now, they all complement each other really, really well. They play off of each other's strengths and complement each other and fill in the cracks and the weaknesses. Ricky Starks on his own might not have as much of a threatening presence, but when you throw him out there with Brian Cage and Will Hobbs, that is going to be one scary guy who can talk the talk, right? This was something that we shared this week on social media. Brian Cage truly is looking like another level. The guy who, I know it was real controversial, but Tony Khan when he was starting up AEW, you talked about how Brian Cage was on his Mount Rushmore of
I know that I heard that.
Sign. And this was an example. This is the Brian Cage that we've been wanting to see.
Yes.
This is the machine right here. My jaw was dropped. He's, to me, that was a showing by Team Taz that made a statement. They've been promising that they were going to leave an impact, and they definitely did.
Yeah, I mean, this match from everything was an elite for me by far. I mean, we have to go out of order like we did last week because we were just so impressed and such wow factor of what transpired at the end of Dynamite last week and this week. It's another cliffhanger that they need to keep doing every week to make the buzz on Dynamite continue to just flicker and flicker. The match itself was not that amazing, but I think the performer of the match was Brian Cage. And he started off strong from his debut, then he kind of fizzled out to me, and he started to look a little weak and kind of strange, uncomfortable in the ring. We saw some missed botches in the Rumble and at the one last two pay-per-views ago, and now the moves he was showing and the finisher was perfect. But the only downfall is Darby looked so weak, and he's the champ. To me, he looked very, very weak. Cage looked very, very strong. But it was a fantastic way for the heels to finish the show.
Yeah, I mean, you can leave that elite up there because for me, I love this match. I loved everything about the whole build-up going into the match, the chip on the shoulder that Team Taz has had. I thought it was awesome all the way around. The post-match beatdown, the revelation that Will Hobbs was coming out to defend Cody and Darby from the beatdown, and he ended up joining them, truly was well executed. Very much a surprise for most people. I thought they did a great job. The match itself, I have to say, Brian Cage, this is the second match in a row where he's caught a guy jumping off the top rope.
Unbelievable.
In midair, and then just for him to catch a guy Cody's size coming off the top rope and then to start doing flexes with his body, Dude, there are few people in the world who are as strong as Brian Cage, and it's about time that he shows off what he's capable of. That was incredible. Not to mention the Avalanche drill claw, which was just that move. The drill claw alone is just like you wince when you see it because it looks like it looks like it hurts no matter what. But that top rope version, I was at a loss for words. You don't see moves like that every single week. You just don't. And that's coming from a guy who watches, I watch everything.
Right.
That was just an incredible move and really was a great way to end the match. It was emphatic and a clean win, really. I mean, when you think about it, a clean, definitive win. I know that you worry about Darby. At this point, I feel like it's time that we come to terms with the fact that Darby's character is really that he's he can get he can get every bone in his body broken, but his spirit won't be broken.
True.
So I think that it's about time that we start to recognize that our idea of what it means to look strong is not going to apply to a guy like Darby. Darby's going to look strong by showing that he's resilient, that he has a never say die attitude, and then he simply cannot be kept down. And so I think that that's sort of where we need to approach the lens of Darby looking strong. Obviously, top rope drill claw is going to put a lot of people away, right?
Yeah, that's for sure.
But I felt like Darby in this instance wasn't hurt so much by the sense that, I mean, this was an emphatic showing by Team Taz, and that's what it was about, was recognizing that these guys are the top contenders for the TNT Championship. And there's going to be some real heat when all three are going for the same prize. I'm intrigued by what happens there.
I hope that someone from Team Taz does dethrone Darby at some point during this feud, and I would be very happy to see this feud dragged out for, a couple months even. You throw Cody in there, you throw in another Nightmare family member, or someone we don't even know. Someone as big as maybe Ryback to feud with Brian Cage.
Now that would be awesome. The big guy.
More. So, I mean, do you bring in the big guy to face the big guy? I mean, there's some very intriguing storylines there, but I mean, you can go down the rabbit hole for many, many ways, but overall we agree it was a A+ way to end the show. And going forward, I think they got some really strong storylines.
You got me salivating at the idea of the big fella coming in.
I've been a huge Ryback fan.
Well, you've always been a Ryback guy. I mean, we used to make fun of you for a long time. You've always been a Ryback fan. And I got to say, you've been proven right over the time. You need to tweet this to Ryback because that guy, you are a big fan of his, and I would love to see him in AEW. I know that that's a controversial statement. I know that there are some people who don't like Ryback. I think that the guy is really, if you look back at his career and what he's been able to do, I think you got to give him his just due. And I'm really excited. I would think that he would be a great addition. And yeah, you're right. Talk about right now, you look at Team Taz and you just said it. Who's going to stop them? You got a guy like Ricky Starks, and then you got two monsters. I mean, absolute behemoths. Probably the two biggest, strongest, and I love Wardlow, right? But probably the two biggest, strongest guys in AEW.
I agree.
On the same team, right? So there's got to be a guy that Cody's got to reach deep down and find that guy, and I think Ryback could be it. That's a great call by you.
If I'm seeing into my crystal ball in the future, like I called with Pac in the Death Triangle, which we'll get to later.
Yep.
Outstanding storyline.
I like where you're headed. I really like where you're headed, and it would be a great way to make a debut. Speaking of debuts, Top Flight tonight. They started off the show versus the Young Bucks, and at first it was kind of an interesting way to start the show, right? Top Flight, where they came out first, not really well known by the mainstream audience, but I have a feeling that there's going to be a lot more people after this match that are going to be clamoring to see these two kids. That was an impressive showing. And I got to say, the Young Bucks, their defense against this team, at times it felt like they were fighting a mirror image of themselves. This match was high energy, fast paced, really a nice compliment off of each other as far as styles go. And I think it was a really great showing as a tag title defense against a team that really, I think, made a name for themselves tonight.
I couldn't agree more. What I wrote in my notes was that it was high energy, fun match, great show opener. And what really was amazing out of these 21 and 19-year-old tag teams, imagine what we were doing at 19 and 21. We definitely would not be able to handle ourselves in a wrestling ring, let alone we'll not even go down that rabbit
No,
hole.
well said. Yeah, exactly.
But these guys are well beyond their age. I love the package. It really makes you root for them even more. So you just throw out these random jobbers, then you don't hype them up or give them a background story. You could do them no good. This did them
Yep.
good. This hyped them up. And not only that is that they're going to get an additional match with TH2. You know, it just sets up, they planted those seeds, and TH2 and Top Flight are very similar styles too. So that's going to be another amazing, entertaining match to watch. So this is a great way to start the show. I love the fact that the Young Bucks are giving a lot of these young, fresh green guys chances. Private Party, they
Yep.
put them over. You
Yep.
got Top Flight, which I think honestly might be a better Private Party at this point. They're really polished in the ring. And
I didn't want to say it because I know Private Party is, you know, they have a well-established fan base.
I love Private Party. I love them.
No hate against those guys, but
Salute to them.
this is a young team that they were entertaining and they were smooth in the ring.
I agree. Very smooth.
I have to say, some of that, obviously, some of the credit needs to go to the Young Bucks, right?
Yes.
Because they're such pros and their style fit so well with these two kids. But for being as young as they are, you would have never guessed that they were, you know, really kids. They couldn't, only one of them could be joining us as we drink a beer tonight. It's just unbelievable how young those kids are. But like you said, SPD, I really love the Young Bucks, their mentality. It's so clear that yes, they love being at the top. Their journey has certainly been a bumpy one and a wild one. They've gone all over the world. But I think they're honestly at a stage of their careers where, especially with the book coming out, they got to be very like reflective on how far they've come and like the journey that they've had. And it's got to be really refreshing to be in a place now in their careers where they can give back. And this was a great example. This was a showcase for two guys that Top Flight team will never have. Their future is going to be completely altered from here on out. Right. I mean, they're going to be well known. People are going to be buzzing for them. Personally, I want to see a rematch I want to see the Top Flight get another opportunity down the road.
I agree.
I think that those guys held their own against one of the best teams in the world.
Yep.
That said, I love the TH2 plant too. We saw TH2 on Dark, and what you and I have talked about is getting to see characters. I know that they have a big roster and they only have a limited amount of time, but having things build off of each other. TH2 in their segment last night in Dark, talking about being cast to the side, being ignored, and then coming out tonight and making an impact. That was perfect. It was a perfect fit for any of us who have been following the content. We get to see the natural progression of the story. And I love seeing Jack Evans be a dirtbag. That guy is like so good at being just a complete dirtball. I love it. So that was a really great. I love the start of the show, and I love how they were able to interact multiple teams and get multiple teams opportunities to get on TV. Like you said, it's well needed and a well use of time there.
It is definitely elite for me for a show opener, an overall match, and overall storyline, all around elite. It's not the match you're going to be talking about, the next day with the whole card being so strong that it was, but I just realized every single match had a story at the end leading to a future storyline. It's kind of like the go home show they had before the last pay-per-view at Full Gear. And so they kept having these plants at the end, future storylines developing, and AEW is doing that. So often we see these matches that just end and it's like, why did you even have a match?
Yep.
And then where do you go from here?
Yep. Every
Every single one on the card, they had a future storyline develop in some way or another. And that made this show top to bottom outstanding. But this match to me was elite. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, I love that point too by you, man. So often in wrestling, we're used to start and stop, feuds that don't get off the ground, guys whose like their push gets just undercut out of nowhere, stories that just end without even getting anywhere, to them. AEW's done a really nice job of having continuity. We talked about it last week when they talked about, the Moxley and Omega history that was out there. The Death Triangle and the Eddie Kingston relationship that draws on past history. I mean, AEW does a really nice job of being smart and playing off of their history, letting things naturally develop and building these stories. And this was a great example. You're absolutely right. Each match really did showcase, plant seeds for next week's show, and make the little crumbs that make you want to keep coming back, as if they needed that, right?
I know, right?
It's a really nice touch by the company, and I think they're doing a really good job with that.
Yeah.
So one of the things going in, and I agree with you, SPD, I would say this was an elite, but I would say, obviously, coming into this show, the buzz was around so many other matches that were going into it. So yes, this probably isn't going to be the one that you're going to talk about tomorrow. The buzz isn't going to be through the roof or anything like that. But I do have a feeling people are going to enjoy seeing Top Flight more on AEW television. And I think that this is a great start for the Young Bucks title defenses as far as their title reign. So
yeah,
all around me on that. Going into this week, there was a lot of stuff that I feel fans were excited for. For me, again, I'm a Thunder Rosa fan. I'm a diehard Pac. I'm a fanboy of Pac. That's my guy. But the Inner Circle going to Vegas, for being plugged into social media, these guys were killing it on social media this week. The post segment stuff where Wardlow talked about the one guy he punched needing his jaw wired shut. Hager, his post with Elvis being the new member of the Inner Circle, I was dying laughing. These guys were phenomenal on social media about this match, and there was a lot of buzz about it. I'm sure, honestly, this one's going to have a lot of comments going back and forth. It's going to have the wrestling community divided. Anytime that a company goes out on a limb and does something wild and crazy like this, you're going to have people talking. What were your takeaway on Inner Circle going to Vegas? What were your thoughts as far as it was a 2-segment portion in the show. How did it feel to you overall? Did it flow? Was it a home run? Was it a dud? What'd you think?
I don't think it was a home run, but it definitely was very entertaining for sure. And I'm happy to see that Elvis Presley is all elite. The more the merrier, the better exposure we can get. But there was just a lot of, you really had to pay. I wanted to pay close attention to what was going on both.
You got to go back
segments.
And watch it again, dude. There's so many little things.
Yeah, it was very, where do you go from here? And what was the point of it? There really wasn't. It was just for pure entertainment. And MJF and Jericho at the bar ordering, that was just pure syncrecy and gold, in my opinion. I tweeted about that, how that was being gold. And it was just, my notes I was writing, you could see Wardlow and Hager kind of either, staring holes through each other, and then they're working together. And then you can see MJF and Santana, and then kind of against Ortiz and Sammy, and then MJF versus Sammy. And it's just a lot of there wasn't a lot of syncrecy between the group at some points, and then there was, and it was just very comical about whoever wrote this and put this together. It was very intricate, and it probably took multiple days. And the fact that Sammy got married and then Ortiz is there and working out. Ortiz is very underrated.
Dude, that guy is so funny.
I know you.
We the best. The best. Dude, that guy is so freaking funny. I don't know. Man. I mean, dude, I was dying laughing on the couch. It might not have been a home, for you, it might have been hit or miss at times. Dude, I was dying laughing. There were so many moments where I thought were hilarious.
Right.
Conan coming back with the good shit was really, really funny. And it treated its audience with intelligence, as far as we're all adults. It was really, really funny. Here's a tweet that we put out during the show. The way that Wardlow and Hager, I think that there's a lot of us, and I was paying attention to other people on social media. We were all chatting about it. We want to see Wardlow and Hager as a tag team.
Oh,
that
I didn't even think of that.
That pairing I want to see them just run. I just wanted to see them go against Marco Stunt and so I just throw a bunch of people in there and let them just ragdoll people. Just literally just have them go out and just do a Goldberg-esque run through a bunch of tag teams. I would love that, because those two guys are just total hosses, total badasses. We love those guys.
That would be pretty impressive, but I would love to see them go head to head too.
Oh, of course. And they're teasing that all day long. Oh my God, is that picture freaking funny. I loved Sammy getting drunk and admitting, I really hate you. And then writing all over MJF's face. Who hasn't done that when they were drunk and young?
Guilty.
I don't know. I just thought it was a really great overall segment. There were a lot of moments that were genuinely really, really funny. I think you need to go back and watch that one again, just because the more times you watch it, the more little things you're going to appreciate. Whether it's Santana with the chickens and what the hell was that? There were so many things. I saw Wardlow was passed out drunk on the piano.
I
there were
missed that.
so many things that were so funny. You got to go back and watch that one. That one's a great rewatch and just genuinely just a funny, lighthearted clip. It was great to see. Again, like you said, I don't know necessarily what the point was. We might see that, it was a good bonding experience for a team that was just coming together that didn't trust each other. You get drunk, you get high, you go to Vegas together. You're coming back as different guys. So maybe they're a whole new unit. They got ELVIS with them now. I know everybody's favorite new member of the Inner Circle. So I think everybody thought that one was pretty funny in the grand scheme of things. I'm sure Jim Cornette's gonna go cry in the corner, but that one was a pretty damn funny skit.
Yeah.
Speaking of funny, I don't know about you. I think obviously everybody thinks Orange Cassidy's been pretty hilarious with his gimmick. But Kip Sabian is pretty damn funny to me. His presentation as like sort of a little like smart ass pipsqueak who thinks he's tougher and cooler than he is. It's kind of wearing on me. He was one of my least favorite guys in AEW, and I was really bumming out about his pairing with Miro because I'm such a Miro mark. But dude, Kip Sabian is wearing on me a little bit. I think I'm becoming a Sabian fan.
Really?
Yeah, I think I am. I find that like his presentation with Penelope Ford is so good. Like their entrance is excellent. They work so well together. The one thing I'll say, he's actually quite good in the ring. The one thing I'll say is that he overacts sometimes in his matches to the point that he comes off as like kind of corny once in a while, especially against someone who's so like Orange Cassidy is like very blasé. He's got that lackadaisical attitude. So somebody who's kind of like an overactor like Kip, it stood out a little bit more tonight. But this was a good matchup as far as like they're both equally sized guys. I felt like their offense was kind of fun to watch together. What do you think about this one, SPD? I know that you seemed a little surprised by my my positive take on Kip.
I'm not sold by Kip. I don't mind his gimmick. The whole storyline with him versus Orange, it was just kind of interesting choice. I get the whole best friends and the best man and Kip and all that, but like I said last week, it should have been Chuck E. T. So they can trade one for one essentially. But Orange, the match itself was all right. The hands in the pants or the hands in the pockets, Orange Cassidy doesn't get old to me. It's very impressive. The whole gimmick, I love that the wrestlers his opponents will try to stop it. But when he finally gets his hands in his pockets and pulls those moves with that, it's really, really impressive. I mean, try laying on the ground with your hands in your pocket and then getting up. It's hard. If you can't kick yourself up like he can, you got to be rolling on the couch and do all that.
I don't think I'd have a good chance at that with my
I feel like I'm pretty athletic, but I don't think I could pop up like that. And so I like the fact that we almost forget that Orange Cassidy defeated Jericho, and the commentators reiterating that. I thought that was a really good touch that they kept saying, Orange Cassidy beat Jericho 2 times. And speaking of commentators, Miro on commentary to me didn't do much. He wasn't impressive, and it didn't do that much, but it makes sense that he was out there. I'd rather have him run in from the commentator table than do an interference from like just the apron. So it was made it more meaningful in that part. My biggest issue with the whole match was the finish, man. I cannot stand roll up finishes. And for that, not just for that, but it's a delete for me. And that match is a delete. It was pretty slow at some points. And, I am an Orange Cassidy fan and a very good Miro fan too. But the roll up finishes, the mousetrap. I mean, even the fact that they call it the mousetrap makes it even worse. Call it like the Velociraptor, tranquilizer, something like that.
The mousetrap doesn't do it
sound
for you, huh?
strong. calling it the mousetrap is an absolute joke in my opinion. So it's a delete for me. What about you?
Well, I mean, I know it's going to be controversial. Anytime you say anything bad about Orange Cassidy, a lot of people get bummed out and they get all bent
I
out of
like
shape.
Orange Cassidy. I'm a huge fan of him and I support him, and his gimmick is great.
Everybody loves the best friends. Everybody loves Orange Cassidy. I'm not as high on OC as a lot of people, honestly. I tend to be more of an old school kind of guy. So I'm an FDR guy. I like Pac. There's certain guys. I like my offense to be brutal. I don't
Right.
like it to be as much of a joke. So Orange Cassidy's okay in my book. I feel like the match itself was probably the least successful overall on the night. I mean, not to talk poorly about it, but this
No,
this
did
card
its
was
job.
really stacked. I mean, and if I'm being
Yeah.
fair, it was probably the
be
least
fair.
successful overall moment of the whole show. So for that reason, I feel like it does need to get a delete. It just does not hold up again with the rest of the show. I feel like the beatdown after the match, you saw on Twitter, I commented, I expected Miro to come running down after the match. I had a feeling Orange Cassidy was going to win this one and then Miro was going to come down and beat him up.
Right.
I loved how Miro, like, he just came just flying down the ramp, hopped over the rope, and just absolutely took Orange Cassidy and flipped him inside out with that clothesline. It was brutal. I love that. And I always love seeing Miro get physical. That guy is an absolute monster. And this is an example of like how we can't be so quick to judge in today's culture. Like so many people are so fast to fire things off on Twitter and like say their opinions and really speak, like judge, be quick to judge, the jump to conclusions, Matt, way too fast. And for me, like if you would have asked me like about Miro, his debut, and if you would have had me give a hot take early on, you could have just crapped all over that, right? You could have said it was awful, but I'm really starting to come around to Miro as this like laid back, funny guy who's on Twitch and likes to play video games, and then just has this like switch that he can flip where he will literally rip your arms off and beat you down with your own arm. He has this temper and this violence, and this is like this burst that few people have, right? I mean, he's a physical freak, and I mean, as far as pound for pound strength, I mean, he looks the best he's ever looked in his career.
Right.
I just love that. I'm kind of starting to come around to like this like Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde thing that's got going on. Laid back video gamer who can also beat the shit out of you. I like that. So that said, I'm not loving the feud overall. I think it's okay. I think that obviously it does give the best friends something to do for a little while. We've seen them get title shots and come up short against FTR. So it's good that they have something else to work through. I don't know how long Miro and Sabian are going to work together as far as a team goes. And eventually I do think that Miro is going to need to break away, or Kip's going to just kind of need to be in more of a managerial type of role. I just don't see Miro's talents being utilized in this current pairing as far as like a long-term plan. It's working right now. And like I said, it's helping Sabian get over a little bit, but I feel like Miro is the rare star that you have to allow him to shine on his own eventually, right?
For sure.
He won't ever be the guy that you hired him to be unless he's on his own 2 feet. That's my take. So that said, as far as speaking of like the stars, right? Like it doesn't get bigger than Kenny Omega and Jon Moxley.
No, it does not.
It does not get bigger in professional wrestling. I mean, they're in elite territory. There are a few names that you could throw out there from other organizations, but if you're putting together a top 5 list of the best wrestlers in the world right now, both these guys are on that list. We had a great, to me, a really great promo by Jon Moxley talking about his childhood and where he came from. I thought that was really well executed and got us to really see where he's coming from. And he obviously dropped a bombshell that he and Renee are pregnant and
congrats
expecting
to them.
a child.
Let's
which
give a
was
cheers
really
to them.
amazing. I think a lot of people are really excited for that. Cheers to you guys. Congratulations on that. That said, Moxley did not make it down to the contract signing tonight. He was laid out with a bloody nose, as Kenny Omega said. He couldn't make it to the ring because he had a bloody nose. It was a great segment overall between two real top-notch professionals. What was your takeaway on this one, Downey? I know that you're a big Kenny Omega mark, and his presentation tonight was as good as it gets. I mean, that tailor fit suit. Oof. He had the dark aviators on, man. Like, Kenny the Cleaner is officially here. That was quite the segment tonight, huh?
Yeah, as I mentioned here on Twitter, I loved how the announcer just said, just like Jon Moxley, and unlike Jon Moxley. And so I mean, like I said here, I can't wait to see his entrances once he gets that gold around his waist, and it will be hit around his waist in 2 weeks' time. I can't believe it's already approaching us that soon. You feel like you need a 2-month build out of this. I mean, you need to be.
I know.
I feel like they should really be building it longer.
That match is, like, truthfully, that's as big as it gets. I'm really grateful that AEW is putting it on before the end of the year. I think all of us need something positive before 2020 is over. So Kenny Omega versus Jon Moxley is certainly going to deliver that as a wrestling fan. Anybody who follows wrestling knows that when it comes to storytelling and emotionally captivating content, Jon Moxley is a way of drawing people in. There's no shock why he's the top guy in the company. He has a way of every single time when a big match is coming up, he has a way of making you feel the stakes.
Oh yeah.
Like him or not, you want to buy the pay-per-view. You want to see him fight. You are invested. And I think that there's a reason why he's the top guy in the company. That said, Kenny Omega tonight, he showed that he's capable of being the champ. He's got that edge to him again. This side of the Cleaner is certainly world champion material. And I think that it was cool to see that edge come out tonight. Kind of a cold, calculated Kenny, somebody who recognizes that he's a top dog in the company and he's not going to apologize for it anymore. He's tired of being put on the back burner. He's not just going to be saddled with a tag team anymore. He's going to embrace the spotlight, and I think that AEW is going to be better for it.
If they do not put the gold around his waist, I think this is the most missed opportunity they have ever had. I mean, you're riding this wave right now.
Say that one more time.
Yeah, if they do not put gold around Kenny Omega's waist in 2 weeks' time, this will be the most missed opportunity they have ever had, because this is a chance for them to showcase a star that still some people on mainstream television do not know. And when he finally has re-debuted the Cleaner in US TV, it is showing that he means business, I think. And just look at him with that suit. You said the tailor-made suit. It's just going to be fun TV to watch. He's, this is the announcers are doing a great job hyping it up. I wish there was a couple more weeks of build personally, but on the flip side of it, every time I feel like I'm ready for Mox to drop the belt, all of a sudden he cuts this amazing promo and then he just rings me back in, and I'm like, oh man, he's so damn good.
I know
this, I think for sure, I'm ready.
I've had that moment multiple times, right? I wanted to see MJF take the title. I wanted to see Archer take the title. There have been
me too.
There have been multiple moments where I was like, okay, I'm done. I'm ready for something new. And that's not surprising in modern wrestling fans. Our attention spans are so short nowadays. But I really do think that Moxley, he did it again tonight. He proved that there are few in the business that know how to pull in fans like him. And so I got to give him his just due. That said, Kenny Omega, I'm ready. I'm right there with you, brother. I honestly think that there's a lot of guys who have they could have put the title on. MJF, you could have said was too young. Lance Archer, you could have said was too old. There's all sorts of things that you could say, but there's not a lot that you can say about Kenny Omega, and really all you can say is good. I think there are some people who think that he's overrated. I don't know what they're thinking. I don't know what they're smoking. Must be some funkier stuff than Conan had. But that is like, to me, Kenny Omega is the bar.
Right.
And now that he's got the cleaner persona, he has the style that can go to back up the in-ring, right? Kenny's always put on great performances in the ring.
I agree.
But he was a little bland as Kenny Omega, the milk drinker, right, of the tag team with Hangman. Right now, you're starting to see that edge come out. You're starting to see a little bit of self-confidence. That entrance is getting better and better every single week.
Yep.
His brutality, his violence, his unapologetic beatings that he puts down on people, putting Sonny Kiss away in seconds and not really apologizing for it, right? That's the Kenny Omega that we want to see. That's the Kenny Omega that's going to change the business. That's the Kenny Omega that can lead AEW into 2021, feeling confident that even though that there's a pandemic and you can't get the fans in the building like you wish that you could have, and it might have thrown your whole business model for a loop, you have a world champion that people are behind. You have a world champion that will draw fans in. You have a world champion that people want to see and who believe is the best in the world. And that, to me, speaks volumes. To transition from Jon Moxley, who is universally respected for all that he's done, to a champion like Kenny Omega is something rare that few companies or dynasties have a chance to do. It's like going from Peyton Manning to Andrew Luck, or from Brett Favre to Aaron Rodgers. Very few times in history do you get that chance to hand off from greatness to greatness, and this is an example of that. I'm just blown away by this feud, and I cannot wait till that matchup. I am going to be so plugged in.
Wow, that what you just said is giving me chills on my arms, and that's gonna be a soundbite that I'm gonna post over and over and over again because I want everyone to hear it in AEW Nation. And Pretty Platinum, right under here under the Christmas tree, is gonna be all Kenny Omegas in 2 weeks. And what you said, he's gonna be sweeping his way to Santa Claus Lane. But honestly, man, what you said, I could not agree 100% more. And like I said, we need to write that down, print that, and just send it away to AEW because I completely agree. But before we move forward to the next match, your number one,
my favorite.
So I want to talk about two quick things. The new intro on AEW was phenomenal.
Yeah.
And the Boundless video was also phenomenal. Watching that Boundless video really made me very proud to be an AEW fan. You know, it touched on many different, it tugged on your heartstrings, and it touched on many different topics that you typically wouldn't get out of a corporate company, essentially. You know, and so it was really like special. You know, you're talking Nyla, Scorpio, and just them as a whole, AEW as a team being the underdog. And, you know, people were telling them no, over and over and over again. And now we're in year 2, and it's just growing every day, every week, every day. And so that Boundless video was put together phenomenally. And that's all I got to say about that. Was just, it was great.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like the Boundless video is something that needs to be shared. If you're an AEW fan, you need to share that with people who might not know the company or might not follow it. Fans that you know are wrestling fans, but might not watch AEW or watch it regularly. That's a video you need to share. To me, that was an example of, like you talked about, it was a mission statement. It was incredibly well produced, which is not shocking because AEW puts out incredible work like this pretty regularly with their graphics and their videos and their all their presentation is always top notch. But what I love about it is it speaks to the spirit of the company. You know, allowing people to be themselves, to grow, to figure themselves out. Cody really talked about it on social media. It was one of the things that was going around. AEW actually was promoting how he believes that his core principle is that nobody is a nobody in wrestling. And that video really showcased the spirit of that, you know, highlighting the individuality of each person that comes through the door at AEW and looking at that as not a weakness where, you know, they don't fit into the cookie cutter mold of what you see the wrestler should be. So they don't work and they don't make it on TV, but quite the opposite, recognizing that diversity is what makes us stronger, that we can learn from each other and honestly get better from having, you know, people from all walks of life come through and showcase. I think it was incredible. It was really well done.
I agree.
And to me too, it speaks to the spirit of, like, imagine like you're Tony Khan, right? And you're talking about wanting to invest hundreds of millions of dollars into a professional wrestling company. And, the amount we're wrestling fans, so we might not think it's weird, but you talk to people who don't love wrestling, there's a lot of people who will laugh at you and will judge you for being a professional wrestling fan. For him to follow his dream and to be passionate about it, I know a lot of people will criticize him for being a money mark. That's one of the things that people call him. And I think that Tony should embrace that. He should be proud that he's a fan. He's living his dream. How many of us wish that we could do what he's doing?
Yeah.
I can't tell you the amount of times that I've dreamt up of what my dream card or dream promotion would be, or if I could write the storyline, what it would go like. And Tony's doing that. And I think he's trying really, really hard to give fans a product that we can enjoy and that we can love. And he's doing it by utilizing veterans in the business. You see guys like Jerry Lynn that are in the business at AEW. He's obviously leaning on the intelligence that a Cody has and Dustin and the family lineage that they bring, but also making sure that they stay current. Right? Making sure that they get guys like Darby Allin, making sure that they have people like Nyla Rose on the show, people who are willing to push the boundaries of what we expect or we anticipate a regular star should be. So I thought that was really, really well done. But to me, there's no bigger star in AEW. There's nobody that I care about more. And I can say this with like my hand to God. My favorite wrestler in the whole world wrestled again for the first time in almost a whole year. I was so excited to see him back in the ring tonight, and I couldn't have picked a better opponent because the Blade. I was giving him love on social media because the Blade to his credit, that dude is a workhorse, man. That guy is a physical freak, and we saw what happened in the bunkhouse match, what he was willing to put himself through to entertain the fans. That was as physical of a match. And it was clean. There was no weapon, there wasn't a bunch of weapons or anything crazy like that. But when you're talking just two guys beating each other up, high impact, make you feel it at moments where you're cringing on the couch, that was this kind of match, right? Too physically, and I thought it was hilarious. They were talking about the top, and this was something the Dark Order, Alan from Dark Order was talking about. This is the match of the dream abs, the match of people who love abs. You get to see the Blade versus Pac, the two greatest abs in all of wrestling, going against each other. But just two physical specimens beating the hell out of each other, pulling nothing back. And we also got to see one of my favorite entrances in all of wrestling right now is the Butcher and the Blade and the Bunny. Those guys just absolutely kill their entrance.
Oh, I agree.
You're not going to piss in my Cheerios, right? You were excited about this match. This one's going to be an elite from you. Come on, bud.
I'm not going to piss in your Cheerios at all. And this match, to me, I wish it was a main event. You have this re-debut of Pac, and to me, he is a very, 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 very top star, very high up there. Right now, currently, he's not the top star, but, I think he'll get back up there eventually. But it would have been nice to have this be a main event. But as this was leading up to the show, as I saw the show progress and how I saw the show end, I get why it wasn't, and it was perfectly placed where it was. This match to me was definitely an elite. Not to be overly critical, I thought this lasted a little bit longer than it should have. I think Pac re-debuting, you should have put him over a little bit stronger. That being said, Blade is not a pushover. And, I have not seen him in a singles match look this good. And so it really was showcasing Blade too. It didn't, he did not lose any strides. He looked very strong. And Butcher and Blade, this will be next week, 3 weeks in a row that we're seeing them. And I'm happy about that. We were talking on social media all week about the bunkhouse match, and, getting some interactions with Butcher and Blade, and we supported it and we loved it. And even though I know it was a little bit too colorful for me, but overall it was great. We didn't see Pac since March 11th. Wow. And, on top of the match, we had Eddie on commentary, which was definitely necessary. And anytime he speaks on commentary or in the ring, it's gold and fire. And the only thing, like I talked about earlier, was the length of the match and the picture-in-picture. They should have just spared that extra expense and just had that go through, and they could have shortened it a little bit longer, made Pac look a little bit stronger. and not I'm pulling a Eddie Kingston, Pac, whatever your fucking name is.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm saying it wrong. I'll always call him Pac. I know I think it is Pac, but I'll always
We'll just call him the
Pac. That's always-
bastard. He's the bastard.
Call him the bastard. That's right.
So I thought the finish was great. Outstanding finish. The match was definitely an elite for me. And everything that transpired after the match was everything I've been predicting for months and months and months. You
have
the the death triangle. It just made sense. It was like, this is a perfect time for Pac to come back because, Eddie doesn't need all these guys. He doesn't need a posse. It was great and is great, but it just makes sense to have a much bigger feud, a bigger picture. If Pac comes back and gets, Ray and Penta back and then battles the Butcher and Blade, like this battle between these 6 men are going to be brutal and it's going to be great. It could headline any pay-per-view in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, and I can understand why you'd said like this should have been the main event, right? Because the reuniting of the Death Triangle, them coming back together again, is a monumentous moment. I think that there might have been a little bit of apprehension to put Pac on again at the main event after some people really had a very negative reaction on social media about how he's not a game changer and da 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 da. They're wrong. But
yes,
but
they're wrong.
I can understand why Tony kind of maybe hedged his bets a little bit.
It was placed perfectly. I think it was.
That's okay because honestly, they delivered. It was an incredible match. And I have to say to counter you as far as the match going on too long, we can't have it both ways in the sense that like we want the Butcher and the Blade to look more credible. Honestly, we want them to have a push towards the world tag team titles. I think that those guys are really underrated. We talked about that on social media and the Instagram post. We talked about them potentially being the most underrated tag team in all of wrestling right now. So you can't have it both ways, right? I mean, they still need to look strong. And for this is going to be a long feud, right? The Death Triangle versus Kingston's family, that's going to last a while. And so you do need to have some of these guys, they need to look equal, right? They need to push each other. And you have to have that balance of power.
Trade wins for a little while.
Work out, right? So I felt like it was good. I was entertained the entire match. I felt like these two guys, the way that they both approach their offense in a very similar way, right? I think that obviously Pac is more of a high flyer, and that's where he gets that edge. Is he has more of that acrobat side to him, whereas the Blade's just more of a ground and pound brawler. But both guys are so physical in their matches that like it was one of those matches you could feel watching at home. So I was a big fan of it. I mean, I don't know if I'll ever give Pac a bad, I don't know if he'll ever get a delete from me. I'm trying to temper with not giving him my top performer every single week. So I'm trying to make sure I'm holding that in as far as that goes. But I thought it was a great match. And it certainly planted, we talked about this earlier in the show, it planted seeds for future weeks of television. We already want to see
months.
I mean, now you're like, they finally did it. The Death Triangle versus Kingston's family. I mean, the amount of matches that can come out of that, the amount of programming that can come from that. I'm incredibly excited. We haven't even talked about how Eddie Kingston's heart's going to be broken with Penta turning on him and joining up the Death Triangle again, right? That's his best friend. So there's so many things that are going to come out of this. Really excited about where this is going to go. And it's one of those, I mean, honestly, yes, Moxley versus Omega is the most important thing on the horizon. But this is the feud that I am just, they got me. They got me hook, line, and sinker, man. I am totally on board with this. They could drag this out for the rest of the year at this point. And I think
I'd be happy with that.
I mean, take this all the way to Revolution, where you get to see Kingston versus Pac man to man. That would be my dream scenario. I love Kingston on commentary, but like he wasn't hitting it for me tonight. Maybe it's just because I'm such a Pac fanboy. I was getting like butthurt about it. I was getting a little upset about some of the things he was saying. But like when you talk about like Pac sitting at home eating Oreos, and you're Eddie Kingston and you look like me, and then you're talking about Pac sitting at home looking at eating Oreos, it didn't work. I don't know. I thought it was not his best performance on the mic tonight, but I felt like the Butcher, the Blade, they showed incredibly well. The Bunny is that's a nice addition to that team again. She really adds like that, like kind of that crazy, psychotic, sadistic side to the team that I really enjoy. I really think that this feud is going to go places, and I think a lot of fans are going to be really happy with what's to come.
I agree. And before we move on to the last match that we're going to talk about, we have to talk, our latest addition to the Dynamite Download team. We got Bonds, and Bonds is going to share his biggest moment of the night, and he's going to chime in right now.
Hey everybody, welcome to Bonds' biggest moment of the week. And man, oh man, we had a crazy night tonight on Dynamite. But the biggest moment for me, wow. Pentagon, he said, no, Eddie Kingston, you will not attack my brother. No, Butcher, no Blade, you will not attack Pac. It is over. The Death Triangle is back. Eddie Kingston can hit the road. It's going to be a crazy feud with these guys for a long time. Eddie Kingston was absolutely lighting into Pac on commentary tonight. Those guys deserve a singles match. SPD, Crayfish, what do you guys think? Is this feud going to go on for a long time, or are they just moving on from Eddie Kingston's recent title reign with Jon Moxley? I think this is going to go on for a while, and you can read about it tomorrow in my column on dynamitedownload.com.
Yeah, I think that this is one of those things coming out of what we've seen, the build-up. SPD, you had called that this was sort of one of those moments, one of the actual feuds. We haven't seen a lot of feuds on Dynamite. And this was one of the ones that you felt like this could become a real blistering hot feud that could last for a while, right?
Exactly. And Bonds hit it on the head. And I think it's a perfect long-term feud that we can make for must-see TV. And this is, for all six guys that, we talked about earlier, that it is a perfect fit for them. And we're going to see it continue on and on and on. And I'll be happy for it. You share wins, you trade blows, you trade, cheap shots, and that the Death Triangle is back because we never even saw them.
Amen, man.
And
Amen.
now, hopefully, we don't get a double cross from Penta, but we will see the Death Triangle truly reign in AEW.
I like it. I'm all for it. I want to see the Death Triangle. I want to see them raise hell. I want to see them tear apart people left and right. That team, literally, I couldn't bring together three greater people. I
agree.
love it. I know that you're a
Lucha
Lucha Bros fan. You're a big Lucha Bros fan. It's like taking your favorite tag team and my favorite wrestler and just putting them in one little group, super group. It's awesome. I love it. So I'm all for that. I think that what's also great about this, to be honest with you, to piggyback off what Bonds is talking about here, he mentioned that, Kingston really pivoting off of his loss with Moxley. Kingston had talked about he was going to go dark on social media and kind of fall off for a little while, that he had kind of got shook after he gave up to Mox. That didn't happen. And I think that's because AEW realizes that they have a guy who they need out there all the time. He's money on the mic. He's killer. People want to hear what he has to say. So for me, having him break away from the title loss from Moxley and pivot immediately into a very personal, very like emotional, violent feud will be perfect, right? Because you're pivoting him away from you're getting him distracted from the title scene, and you're getting him pulled away and not making him feel weak. You're moving his focus onto something different, something more personal. You're seeing his family get ripped apart, right?
Yep.
So I think that that's a really smart play with his character. Honestly, Lance Archer, we haven't seen him recover from that loss to Moxley like we have seen with Kingston. And that's because they've pivoted Kingston so quickly into this feud with the Death Triangle. And I think that's really, really great television. Now, obviously, Lance Archer, if you're following him on social media, if you're watching Dark, you are watching a guy who is focused, who's ready, and who's hungry. But we haven't seen where his character is going. He's still just sort of like wading through the waters and trying to figure out who his next opponent is. And so he's sort of directionless. At this point,
Sadly.
Kingston is not directionless. They've pivoted him quickly into a feud that's very personal, and I think it's going to last for a long, long time. I think
agree.
that this is going to get us a lot of great matches. We're seeing next week Pac and Phoenix going against the Butcher and the Blade. You're going to see the Lucha Brothers go against the Butcher and the Blade. You're going to see Kingston go against Pac. You're going to see all sorts of great matchups. I can't wait. I can't wait to see somebody go head to head with Butcher one-on-one. That's going to be tough, right? Because he stands out so much as far as a physical specimen in that group. But I think that this is going to last a while. I think Bonds is going to be writing quite a bit about this feud for the next couple months. This is really going to be one that us as fans want to see for a while.
I can't wait. And if you put Penta and the Butcher in a match, the chop battle will be eerily painful. Oh my
man, dude, I can feel it now.
I can't wait. It's going to happen. I'm calling it. Butcher and Penta are going to have the best chop battle of 2020.
That says a lot because Eddie Kingston throws some mean chops, and if you put him against his ex-best friend, now that could get nasty. Oof. That could get personal.
We've been there, done that.
Bunkhouse Butch is mean, bro. I don't want to be receiving any chops from that big fella. So
oh, thank you.
No, that's awesome, man. I think that this is definitely going to be one that lasts for a long time, and really on most nights. That would have been my top moment, right? And I just would have been blown away as a big Pac fan. I would have been all about it. But this show was so stacked that honestly, it wasn't even I honestly think that the Thunder Rosa Serena Deeb match was even a little bit higher for me, which is shocking. Wow. So, yeah. So I can't wait to read the article tomorrow, Bonds. Thanks for sharing your insight, brother. And we'll talk soon. So one of the things that I felt like coming out of last week's show. Really our Dynamite download show was I thought all week about your comments on the women's division. And it was, to me, since we've started doing the show, that was one of the most constructive comments that you've been able to provide going forward, really as a team that we've been able to really showcase on the product. I really felt like your take it stuck with me. And it was one of those moments where I'm somebody who I'm very verbose. I can talk quite a bit. I just kind of had to sit back and just let you go. And I thought that you killed it. And I thought your comments and your insight on a division that you've been traditionally very hard on showed a different side of you as far as your take on women's wrestling. So before I get into the leader delete of this match, I'm going to let you I want you to talk about what happened tonight's show as far as the women's division. Obviously, it all started with Serena Deeb defending her NWA title against Thunder Rosa. Why don't you go ahead and give us your lead to delete on that and kind of give us your insight on what transpired this week for the women's division on Dynamite?
Yeah, I don't know if it's, finally being home here in New York and sleeping in my own bed or what, but I'm turning a new leaf. And I think AEW, and I was hoping they would have listened to us because as I tweeted here, I think they were listening to us because last week on episode 8, we were just preaching that how if they just feature a core group of women and just constantly, feature them every week, at least as long as it's one of that 4, 5, 6, or, one of those core group, you're going to grow that division. And today and tonight, the show and the match was outstanding. And I got a surprise for you later, and you might be, I'm impressed by it. It might be a double surprise, a double swerve, I'll say, not to spoil anything. But the fact that they had 2 performers in the ring really battle it out. The match itself was very good. It started off kind of slow with a lot of the mat work, which it told a story.
That's characteristic of Serena Deeb's character,
right? And that's okay. It wasn't. I was entertained and it had my attention the whole time, which is very important. I am a hard critic of the women's division for many reasons. I want them to succeed. I want it to succeed because I'm constantly seeing product in the women's division that is just so subpar and so embarrassing. And tonight was not that. And it was, Thunder Rosa, you're a huge sitting on your high horse right there. Thunder Rosa was very strong. I love how she's aggressive and physical, not just going through the moves. She's actually making you feel those moves and making you feel the pain that they're going through. Last week told its story in its sense, but I felt like it was a lot of like rehearsal. You're going through the rehearsal, and all that. And so I think that you should sign Thunder. She would be a perfect fighting champion. She would be a Cody Rhodes champion where she does the open challenge and you feature her every week. That would be outstanding. We haven't seen the champ on Dynamite since her outstanding victory at Full Gear. You don't even get a package out of that. What are you doing? Nothing. And so I don't know what they're doing with the women's championship. Throw that belt on Thunder, throw that belt on Britt, throw it on someone that you can feature. Even if it's not an in-ring performance, you can feature her on commentary. You can feature her on a promo. You can do something like that. Sadly, Shida lacks those out of ring segments. Qualities. And if you put it on Thunder, you have this awesome Darby Allin-esque half painted face person. And I would not be mad about having the women's champ almost being like a mirror image of Darby in a sense of that. The Britt Baker interference just had me just like pumping my fist because I was like, yes, thankfully they're adding some core AEW women to the show. And Reba, Rebel, whatever you're going to call her, that's another example of that. So it just really bothers me that you didn't even feature your champion the second week in a row after a really outstanding performance at Full Gear, and you took down an ex-champ, and it's a huge missed opportunity. Maybe there's something going on that we don't know about, but this match, you might need to get a drum roll, bro.
I can't wait. I cannot wait. It sounds like this might be
it. Might be.
It
was my first ever elite match
in
the women's division.
Wow. This is a groundbreaking moment for us here on Dynamite. And as a lifelong fan of yours, SPD, as a friend, this is a big moment for you. I'm really proud of you for admitting this. And this speaks volumes. I hope that Thunder Rosa and Serena Deeb, they watch this and this is the ultimate championship. They got SPD's stamp of approval. This was huge.
You can see that Thunder Rosa liking our tweets right there, just so you know.
I love
listening,
Thunder Rosa.
And
I'm a huge Thunder Rosa fan.
That's live.
She's incredible.
Someone's ears are ringing.
She's incredible to her fans online. If you aren't following her, if you're not part of the Thunder Nation, you need to get on board. I was just absolutely, again, I would say, like, my article I wrote weeks ago when Serena Deeb was on a Dynamite, I'm really impressed by what a pro she is. She does all the little things really, 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 really well. And she emotes very well in the ring. She does have that sort of that ground and that grind them out, like, technical side to her that I really enjoy. And I feel it provides a really nice base for all sorts of different type of women out there. Someone who's so technically sound that you can have a high flyer go in there against her. You can go have somebody who's kind of green or a new person work with her. And she just is very smooth in the ring. Always very polished. A pro's pro, and it's really nice to see her as a champion and get some recognition for a while.
Mm-hmm.
That said, this was a star-making night for Thunder Rosa. If you haven't been on board with her in the past, you definitely were after tonight. Her gear was pure fire tonight. It was freaking awesome. The Mexican flag colors, absolutely on point. She killed it tonight. Her overall look has always been something that everybody appreciates about Thunder Rosa. She's very cool. Got that cool vibe to her. Definitely makes her stand out. But she, like you talked about, like, she screams. She draws in the fans. She's got that fire, that energy where you're not falling asleep during her match. That's for sure,
mm-hmm.
right? You want to see what's gonna happen. She's got that fire in her, and she fights like it's her last match. She fights like she's getting food for like money to put food on the table. She's got that mentality that I really love, and she doesn't let go of. She really holds on to that scrapper mentality, and it really defines her. I also want to say, I know this was on AEW, but this was an NWA Women's Championship title defense. that was the look tonight, guys, and like that was just a phenomenal look. Nice job, SPD, by getting that updated attire. Just absolutely killer outfit tonight by Thunder Rosa. She looked great. Really looked like a star tonight. But I wanted to say, like, speaking of stars, I mean, like NWA, we need to take a moment and thank them for what they're providing to AEW. Not only Serena Deeb and Thunder Rosa, but we also got Ricky Starks from NWA. Some really great talent that NWA has shared with AEW and has gained some notoriety because of it. Anybody who doesn't watch NWA Power, you should also check that out if you have time. It's on YouTube and it's free. Really different throwback type of show, but I want to say NWA, they did a really great job. They had a great showing. Their women's division clearly has a lot of strength to it. And SPD, I feel like you really killed it with your synopsis of how this division can grow. Having a character like Britt Baker on television regularly. Again, I thought her show, her segment on Dark was excellent. It was one of those where she pushed the narrative of multiple storylines. She touched on the Young Bucks book. She talked about, she talked about the tag title defenses. She really did a nice job of kind of touching on multiple angles that were happening. Britt Baker is a natural star. And if you allow her, if you allow her now to interact with Thunder Rosa, you have two characters now that we're invested in, right? We want to see that match. I want to see Thunder Rosa versus Britt Baker. That is a star-making event right there. Like, that is no doubt a phenomenal match. So I think that AEW definitely took a step in the right direction tonight. This was a definite elite from me. Both ladies killed it in the ring. Thunder Rosa definitely goes 100 miles an hour when she's in the ring. Her offense is always on point. And I think Serena Deeb is one of the more underrated sort of all-around technicians in women's wrestling. I think she's such a great base for most different opponents. So really was a great showing tonight. And I think that we're excited. We get to see, you talked about Sheeta not really being featured since Full Gear. We're going to see her going up against Anna Jay, which is another character that I think AEW can build around, right? Anna Jay has a cult following, not pardon the pun, but she has a cult following, a lot of fans on social media, a lot of people who really are enjoying her character work. If you're following BTE, her interactions with the Dark Order are always hilarious. She's definitely the queen of the Dark Order. And I think that her potentially bringing some gold back to the Dark Order while Mr. Brody Lee's out would be a really cool storyline. I think that would really go a long way. It would be interesting if she ends up dethroning Sheeta, given Sheena's title reign. Certainly would be a feather in the cap of Anna Jay, who's not as established, but as she talked about tonight, she's no rookie anymore. And I'm looking forward to her reintroducing herself to Sheeta next week. That's going to be a hell of a match. And I hope that maybe we see John Silver get involved and maybe help Anna Jay get the title. I would be all for it because I know Sheeta is a great in-ring performer, but Anna Jay, especially accompanied by the Dark Order, has those character aspects that you can build a division around. So next week,
I agree.
We get to see that women's championship match. We get to see Sheeta back on Dynamite for the first time since Full Gear, as SPD pointed out. We also get to see Chris Jericho and Jake Hager. We'll see if the hangover's been worn off by next week's Dynamite. I don't know if that's going to be the case or not, but we'll get to see them versus SCU. Maybe they can maybe beat SCU while still hungover. Maybe that's why the match is still set up. I know SCU that one might be
ex-champs.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just talking from you. You're not a big SCU guy, but
Sadly.
We'll see what happens. That one should be a great match, and obviously, anytime we get to see the Inner Circle involved, it's going to be funny. It's going to be good on television. We also got Pac and Ray Phoenix going against the Butcher and the Blade. Interesting how Penta is not involved in that match. Certainly, we're still wondering how he plays involved in as far as his relationship with Eddie Kingston. That one's going to be really interesting, and at bare minimum, that's going to be a phenomenal in-ring match. I cannot believe Pac and Ray Phoenix are going to be on the same team. The amount, like the high flying, the offense and those guys is going to be insane. And we know that the Butcher and the Blade, they always deliver. So that's going to be a hell of a match. That to me, I'm watching Dynamite next week for that match alone. That is going to be a phenomenal match, and I have a feeling that there's going to be even more added to the card. We also know that Will Hobbs is going to be in action for the first time on Dynamite in a long time, and he's going to be sporting a new attitude, nasty streak to him, joining Team Taz. He's going to be an assassin. So I think the next week's show is certainly going to be interesting. This week's Dynamite delivered in ways that we were just our jaw was on the floor for most of the night. Who was your top performer tonight, SPD? I mean, this was a phenomenal card, start to finish. We only had one delete the entire night, so that speaks volumes. Who's your top performer tonight?
Man, almost every match, I kept saying, this is it.
I changed mine like 2 or 3 times.
I had to keep changing these graphics for you, but and I had to lay down the law and say, this is it.
You did. Okay, stop changing your mind. All right, yeah.
So my top performer is ELVIS, man. As I spoke,
I thought you were going to surprise me with Thunder Rosa. I did not see ELVIS coming.
The double swerve. Double swerve. So, as I spoke a few weeks ago during the town hall, I was wearing my Inner Circle shirt, hoping to join the Inner Circle. Then ELVIS, just happens to be in Vegas, and being able to join the Inner Circle like that, I was very jealous about that. So he is my top performer. But in all honesty, though, my top performer was Thunder Rosa.
Wow.
I know. The double swerve.
Wow.
The double swerve.
That's amazing. I got to say, you got to be tweeting this hard at Thunder Rosa, and I hope she realizes what a compliment that is for somebody who's so hard on women's wrestling, for you to finally be humble about it and really recognize what a performance that is. That speaks volumes.
I know. That was the double swerve I was telling you about, man.
She deserves it, though. I mean,
I agree.
Even though she came and that was the only reason why, because she was my top performer of the night too. The only reason why I couldn't give it to her was because she did end up losing the match. And I
did her no harm, though.
I know. I try to give top performer to people who actually win their match. That's one of my loose rules that I give myself.
That's all right.
But she was phenomenal tonight, and we cannot understate how great Thunder Rosa was tonight. And Serena Deeb, that matchup was phenomenal. For me, Brian Cage and all of Team Taz, the way that we ended Dynamite tonight, we talked about it to start off the show. It was just absolute impact-worthy stuff. FTW made a statement. Team Taz, they left Cody and Darby laying. They swerved everybody with Hobbs joining. I think most people didn't see that one coming.
No.
And I honestly think that in that main event, now on Team Taz, I've been a Ricky Starks guy, right? I've always thought that Ricky Starks is the more well-rounded guy, but Brian Cage has been on a tear of late. And I think that tonight was I needed to recognize Cage for what he was in a match where you have the TNT champion, the former TNT champion, and really the backbone of the company, and such a well-rounded, all around stud like Ricky Starks, for him to stand out like he did. I think Brian Cage deserves some credit. He has some critics for people who think he's only a big man. He's not. He goes beyond the typical meathead. That guy is capable of some incredible things in the ring.
Oh,
he made a statement tonight, and he left all of us wondering what's next. And I honestly think that they did a really nice job, especially like you talked about, for a guy who came in so hot in his debut and then kind of got once he lost to Moxley, lost a lot of steam.
Right.
He's right there again.
I agree.
Brian Cage is right there again as a top guy in AEW, and a guy that I think is as menacing and as promising as anybody in the company. He certainly delivered tonight, and I was blown away. That avalanche drill claw was just freakish. And catching a guy like Cody again, I can go on and on about the offense that Cage displayed tonight, and I really love the new attitude. That's what we tried to emphasize this week on social media with some of our posts about Cage. His new attitude and new focus that Taz has been really hammering into his team it's paying dividends, and you can see it coming out in Brian Cage. He's ready. The machine is hungry, man. I'm really excited to see what's in store for him.
I couldn't agree more. And the fact that we had this strong of a card on Dynamite and we did not feature Brody Lee, Hangman Adam Page, barely Kenny Omega, barely John Moxley, Lance Archer. These, oh man, it is such a
FTR.
stacked. It is such a
FTR.
I was gonna say FTR.
There's so many top, and that's the thing is, I talked a lot about this after dark last night, with the waiting room in particular. That was a segment that I feel like, that has legs, and there's more. Like, I think that could really provide an opportunity for other stars to get some shine, especially those who might not be able to carry a segment by themselves. You put them in a segment with Britt Baker, she's going to make those awkward pauses not so awkward. She's going to handle a lot of that transition work. She's really a natural in that like presentation, right?
Yeah.
But for me, I really like, it's so hard because they have such a jam-packed roster,
which is great.
They only have 2 hours a week on Dynamite. And so, like you talked about, SPD, for them to be able to do what they did tonight, really not a lot of wasted motion throughout the show. They did a really great job with that. And again, we didn't even see a lot of the guys that we're used to seeing. I mean, it was just an example of being tight, being focused, and building storylines, and it worked. It was a great show. I
agree.
So like we talked about, guys, really this is all about us interacting with you, and really trying to get, engaged with fellow fans, seeing where you're at, seeing how you react to our takes. We're not just talking into a screen here. We're talking to you. We want to hear your opinions. We want to interact with you. At the end of the day, we're fans too, and we want to be a part of that with you. So please subscribe now. Click that button, subscribe now, get our videos. SPD is giving you content. This full show you're gonna get sound bites, clips. Each match is gonna be broken down, elite or delete. So you're gonna be able to get whatever match that you are particularly interested in. You're gonna get notified for that, and you can check out our clip on that and see what you thought. You can agree with us, disagree with us, engage us on Twitter, Instagram. We're all over. You see there, we're on AEW Dynamite DL on Twitter. Very active on Twitter. That's a great place to interact with fans and wrestlers alike. Instagram, SPD, you're killing it on our Instagram page. If you have not checked us out on Instagram, you are missing out. This man is an artist on Instagram. I am just blown away by your ability, buddy, and I really love the content you're putting out there. So please check that out and see what I'm talking about. You're going to be impressed, and you're going to want to start doing the same thing, uploading all these pictures to make your Instagram pretty. We also have a Facebook group where we can get content going, where we can talk and we want to encourage you guys to start chats and start conversation. So check us out on Dynamite Download on Facebook. If you have anything else, guys, please make sure that you check us out at dynamitedownload.com. You're going to see the first article by our new writer, Bonds, this week. He's going to be taking the reins from me this week. I'm going to be serving as your editor-in-chief here while Bonds puts his voice out there and joins the team. Can't wait to hear what he has to say. Lifelong wrestling fan, and he's going to have some hot takes because that kid has a short fuse. So you're going to want to check into dynamitedownload.com. You're going to see that article coming up this weekend. Make sure you check us out and engage us on social media. We look forward to talking to you guys next week.